Subhash Garg has some new details he's pulled out from the budget details about how the incentives for employment are going to work. Yes, Mr. Garg.
So this is the scheme, the scheme number 1 for the incentive-linked employment, the first-timers. What it says is that the scheme will provide 1 month wages, not 1 year, to all persons newly entering the workforce in all formal sectors. The direct benefit transfer of 1 month's salary will be made in 3 installments to the first-time employers as registered in the EPFO up to 15,000, though the eligibility is up to 1 lakh. So those who have salary up to 1 lakh will receive maximum 15,000
for 1 month.
For 1 month, and it will be paid in 3 installments of 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So it's not
a game changer.
So it's only for 1 month.
It's only 1 month.
So if you give an incentive for 1 month, how does that Harsh Gupta encourage employment generation in the long term?
So the employer will have to think that for the remaining months, what do I do?
No, but if you give an incentive for only 1 month, how does
And
it
that
encourage
also
job creation?
This is only the first scheme. There is a second scheme on manufacturing, third scheme on EPFO, fourth. So the point is, together, does it move the needle from the incremental new hire through contract employer to on the payrolls?
No, Punita Sinha, if you give an incentive for 1 month, does that then encourage any real-world employer to enhance the number of people he has on his payroll?
No, not at all. In fact, you yourself had shown earlier capacity utilization has been low, job creation by the private sector is low. How much is this really going to change? It's a lot of administrative burden that you're putting on an employer. I don't think it's really going to move the needle.
Okay, Rahul Garg joins us. He's a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. He's an expert on direct tax. There's been some rationalization of the tax slabs. Do you want to explain how that's likely to play out and how that benefits the middle class? Mr. Garg, welcome.
Thank you so much. I just want to make a mention that I'm no more a partner with Pricewaterhouse.
Yeah, but go ahead.
But in terms of the benefit to the middle class and benefit to the people who are following the new tax regime, it is important to know that the benefit comes only to those people who are following the new tax regime. And as Finance Minister said, that new tax regime is being followed by quite a lot of number of people. Now it has been made even more attractive. And the more attractive it has been made for 3 counts. 1, the slab rates have been recasted. And the second, the standard deduction has increased. And second, NPS deduction has been provided. So once the standard deduction increases, NPS is provided and the slab rate are recasted, as the Finance Minister mentioned, that a person could benefit up to 17,500 rupees in a year. So the fact that earlier also people were following the new tax regime, now it is becoming more attractive. So more people will follow the new tax regime.
That's a fair point you're making, that an effort is being made to try and make the new tax regime as attractive as possible and get more people to switch out of it. Mr. Garg, you were wanting to complete the argument you were making.
So these 3 things we need to actually understand fully, because whether it's a game changer or whether it's another scheme.
Sure.
So the first one I described.
Yes.
The second one says that the government will also provide incentive for EPFO contribution for 4 years of employment, in the first 4 years, at a specified rate.
3,000 rupees is the third scheme.
No, that's the third scheme.
That's the third scheme.
So here it says specified rate. Now, what is that specified rate? We don't know.
The third scheme?
And the third scheme is for non-manufacturing guys. For them, up to the salary of 1 lakh per month, they will be paid 3,000 rupees per month for 2 years towards EPFO contribution.
Yeah.
So this is the EPFO contribution being paid for some more.
Is it therefore more
So the
about
government
the
also makes a contribution to Employee Provident Fund. So apart from the company and the individual,
Yes.
the government will make a
This is
contribution.
the government contribution.
For the first 4 years, but the amount has not been specified, at least in summary I have right.
And that's what I was saying. We have had these
For 4
schemes
years.
in for last 7 years. The latest one was...
No, but how does government
let me
making a
explain.
contribution to Employee Provident Fund in
It
addition to the
helps.
employer and the employer, how does that help?
So we had the scheme called ABRY, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, which was brought after the COVID. in which the government paid both the contribution, the employers as well as employees' contribution to the EPFO. So that finished only last year, and there was no one. So I think this has been brought in to substitute for that scheme.
The point is both the employer and employee are incentivized if some contributions are made by the government to be on the proper payroll as opposed to subcontracted.
But it won't
the point is,
increase.
No, but what is the
magnitude
impulse?
enough
The
or not?
impulse is, think of it from the employer's mindset. Does it incentivize the employer to get people on board? Even if the government makes a contribution to the employee's provident fund account and there's an extra contribution coming in from the government side, how does it change the psyche of the employer?
Because you can attract more people. It depends on the magnitude of the incentive.
Rahul, I think the government comes out every month with an EPFO data.
Yeah, which is itself.
And if you look at carefully, there are 3 columns in that. Number 1, the new employees who joined. Number 2, who left, who stopped paying contribution. And 3rd, who earlier left have started making contribution again. So this dynamics of new coming, leaving and going is actually encouraged a whole lot by this kind of.
Okay, so I want to go across to Anshuman Magazine. Anshuman Magazine is chairperson and chief executive of CBRE, a leading real estate expert, Mr. Magazine. One of the big announcements was that an effort will be made to try and digitize land records in urban areas, in rural areas, for farmers. Now, this has been spoken of, but from the best as you understood, what impact do you think this could have on India's real estate sector and the fact that the government is now making digitization of all land records such a key priority?
For me personally, this was the biggest takeaway from the budget because land is not an issue only for real estate. We need land for manufacturing, we need land to put hospitals, hotels, anything we do, we need land. And the biggest challenge in India was, of course, on title of land. And we've all discussed that there are lakhs of cases which are pending in the courts and why our court system is slow. As you would know, large amount of litigation in our courts are because of land disputes. Plus, what happens is because of not getting proper title, investments are not going in as much as they should go in, and government has not been able to collect as much taxes as they can. So, if this is implemented, of course, the key is implementation. If this is implemented,
Do you think it's likely to take?
A big needle mover. Yes, it'll take time. Some of the states have already done it. It also depends how determined the government is. It is, it can be done. Like I said, I hope they have some timelines, and this will have a major impact on the economy, not only real estate. And it's really unleash a huge improvement. And can you imagine both investments going into real estate? The budget talked about urban development for doing anything manufacturing. One of the big deterrents for a lot of manufacturers coming here again is to assemble land, or for anybody to do anything really in this country. So if this is implemented, this will have a major impact on our economy.
How do you see this play out, Rajiv Kumar? The idea that you want to digitize all land, it's currently very paper-based, discretionary, jugaad, especially in rural areas. It's not as fixed and proper.
This is an idea whose time had come 10 years ago. It's wonderful that they're doing. The states which have digitized their land record and the land sort of on the ground, as it were, Telangana, for example, have benefited a great deal. This will remove a huge amount of corruption and at the ground level, at the tehsil and all at that level, it will facilitate land transfers, developing a market in land for both the rural areas and the urban areas, and it will take away, as it were, a lot of harassment that goes on today in land acquisition. And therefore, it will also be very good for the manufacturing industry, because they will be able to, for example, I know that in Telangana, you could order a parcel of land sitting abroad, and you could identify it on the map there and make the purchase even online. If that happens for the country as a whole, I think it's a big move forward.
Also, formal credit offtake.
It was a long time coming, but thankfully,
by the way,
for farmers,
there is already a scheme going on called Dil Rahe, which is there for last, and which has digitized a lot of records. I want to again see what is the difference being made now. What is the delta? So let me see the content and then I.
So why the difference that is being made is the central government has now accepted the importance of digitizing all land records, because it was a state government.
No, it is a central government scheme. Dil Ramp is a central government scheme.
Maybe it is just
there is also a unique land record being assigned, number being assigned to all the 30 odd crores records.
Can I just come in? I think
going on
scheme. It's fine even if it has already been there. A renewed focus and emphasis is good enough. To add to Rajiv Ji's points, the point is if somebody wants credit, if you have a digital land record, your credit offtake becomes much more formalized. You don't have to pay usurious informal rates, which are double, triple digits on an annualized basis. So those kind of things,
and the patwaris get less commission.
Exactly.
The patwaris get less commission. You don't have to go.
Litigation also goes down.
Punita, you wanted to make a point on taxes. What's the point you want to make?
We used to think that India has reached like a tax stability regime, but this budget makes me believe that they've tinkered on taxation on so many different things, whether it's customs duty, long-term gains, income taxes, that there is no more tax stability that we can expect in the next few years. There could be further changes every year, whether it's on capital gains, whether it's on income tax, whether it's on customs duty. Just a few years ago, they raised customs duty on gold. Today, they brought it down.
When the big political messaging is no tinkering, continuity. Anshuman Magazine, do you buy that argument that Punita Sinha is making, that it's, now for example, long-term capital gains increase to 12.5. It could increase further next year. We don't know where it's going to. There's no message that this is a cap. And they've tinkered and tweaked. For example, they raised gold customs duty. Now they brought down gold and silver. So you now are back in the old days where you never know what's happening. And it could increase, it could decrease depending on what the financial and political imperative of that moment is.
Certainly, this is disconcerting, and the fact is there were so many other list of requests on actually reducing taxes which were completely ignored. And in fact, every budget, what I've been saying is that the government is widening taxes, which is fine, but logically, whenever you widen taxes, you need to reduce taxes, right? But we continue to widen taxes, but don't reduce taxes. Maybe in some places we do. So I would still sort of, I hope there is, better sense that while we reduce taxes, while we widen taxes, reduce tax rates while we widen the tax net.
This reduction of customs duty on gold and silver, to what extent do you think this is likely to reduce corruption? Sir, 1 second, one at a time, please. Yes.
No, this is again a very welcome move, because the more you raise the customs duties on gold, the more you encourage smuggling. And more you encourage smuggling, the more you are getting caught in that whole black.
The counter is you don't want people investing in non-productive assets like gold, right? Which is why you had customs duty.
The point also is that if you are successfully able to monetize gold with the household, which Subhash tried actually, then it's not non-productive investment. It can be very productive investment. In fact, even today, companies like Muthoot and others, you can get money, you can monetize the gold holding that you have, and this is why there's a big effort at the moment. So I think the custom duty on gold imports had been reduced to 2 and 2.5%. Then it was successively raised by this government. I think it's a good one to reduce.
Large parts of our audience will be urban middle class, who will wonder what is in this budget for us. What have we got out of the budget, positive and negative? If they were to look at this budget closely and wonder about that, what would that be? What would it give them a feeling of cheer today? And what would make them feel that there is really nothing yet again for the Indian middle class?
So for the tax-paying middle class, about 8 to 9 crore households who file the returns, the fact that standard deduction has been increased by about 25,000 rupees, and the minimum taxation limit has been raised in the alternative scheme from 6 to 7, which she counted gives a certain kind of benefit, about 17,500, what she mentioned. I think that's a very clear gain for them. But to my mind, this is much lower than what they were expecting. This is not I don't think they will feel very happy about it. So they'll say, all right, something has come, but not really something.
In fact, there was an expectation that given that the fiscal situation is looking healthier, that there will be a cut in income tax rate for the middle class, which has not happened. So I think that's a disappointment.
that hasn't happened in a long time.
And again, that 30% slab, which kicks in at 15 lakh, remains unchanged. So 15 lakh is a very low income level
Can
today.
I just slightly disagree there?
Yes.
The point is Indian per capita income is just slightly above 2 lakh rupees. Like median income is around 1 lakh something. In the US, the median, the mean income is $80,000 and the income tax kicks in around $20,000. Here, it is the exact opposite. It's 2 lakh rupees, it kicks in at 8 lakh rupees. So from the government's point of view, there is not much space. The people who think are middle class are actually 90 percentile people in this country. They're not actually 50 percentile.
Rajiv is a very strong point that Harsh is making. You know, yes, accepted that the audience here is middle class. But the point is that the economic policies cannot continue to be made to just keep favoring the better offs, which is what it is. If the tax exemption rate is 5 lakhs and the per capita income is 1.65, 1.85 lakhs, you're already very well off when you're there. So therefore, the economic policies have to be made for those who are at the bottom of the pyramid and for their
but this
increasing
government has
employment
faced
and
the charge
skilling.
in the past, particularly with the corporate tax, where that it's the top, the creamy layer who's really benefited. That large part in the middle of this country, which is the driving engine of India, whether you can claim that they actually earn 2 lakhs a month, that they are the ones who claim they haven't got enough out of the government.
Which is why
why do I not get tax breaks, let's say, for education, for health? That's where I want...
No, let us be consistent, which is why, for example, LTCG has been raised from 10% to 12.5%. So when it goes from 10 to 12.5%, it most disproportionately impacting the wealthy who are investors. Then we cannot criticize that. Then say inequality is rising because the so-called middle class is not getting cuts. Again, the 50 percentile of this country is earning around 1 lakh per year on a per individual basis. So I'm just saying the middle class is a sense of psychology which all of us share, but it is not a numerical middle class in a 50 percentile sense. It may sound harsh, no pun intended, but that is the reality.
Okay.